About time. Um, my name's Ronnie Caps. My best fishing partner in the whole wide world, Steve Coleman. We've been around the world chasing crappie, and that's about all we have done really in the last 25, 30 years, really.
33 years.
33, all right. Hadn't kept up with it, but we're getting old, you can tell. We've been a lot of places and fished for crappie all over the country. But I guess about Michigan, maybe we fished some tournaments in Michigan, as far north as Michigan, and down south Florida and west Texas and Oklahoma, and on the East Coast, South Carolina, and you name it, out that way. And anywhere in between for sure. But today, we're just going to ramble a little bit about crappie fishing and some of the history we've got, and really would like to get some info over to everybody. If you have a particular question about a technique or a pole, some of the newest technology that's out. Anything crappie, we'll be glad to throw an answer out for you, and we'd love to hear from you. Just, you can't make a mistake as long as it's about crappie, I guess. We'll try to give you a good answer. But how many people are local right here? Fish, Mississippi area? 4, 5, 6. What's the furthest distance fisherman I got today? How far? Little Rock, all right. I bet you've been on Conway, right? I love that place. Yeah. Me and Stevie caught a 3-pound, 323, I think, out of that lake one day, back a few years back, in one of the tournaments that was over there. I think it's probably at the top of the list for amount of structure in any place I've ever been. Yeah, Conway Lake, Arkansas. Yeah. Kentucky Lake. All right. Yep. Well, it's a favorite of ours. We've been fishing Kentucky since I didn't have driver's license, I guess. Steve did, so that's been a while ago. It's changed a lot, like we were talking about earlier. It's been great, then it's been terrible, then it's been great again, then it's been terrible again, and it will continue to do that. It'll cycle on ups and downs without a doubt. All crappie lakes usually do that, but any other lake other than Little Rock, or place in Little Rock, who made it from any other state at all? Nope. Arkansas, Mississippi, Jonesboro. You fish Horseshoe probably. Horseshoe. Grenada. All right. Grenada Lake. We got some 3-pound crappie been caught in here. I know one's already told me about a big one he's caught. Any person here caught one in the scaleway 3, over 3? Yep. Where do you come from? Grenada. That's right. All right. Ooh, that's a hard to beat place, for a trophy fish for sure. Right. No doubt. 3. We got a couple 3s. Hey, I tell you what, it was a lot of years that went by before we ever put a 3-pound fish in the boat. I can tell you, back in the day, it actually was pretty rare. You had to say a huge thank you and hats off to the fisheries management crew for managing fish much better than they used to as far as size and stuff. And without a question, some of the Mississippi lakes have a potential for being a trophy crappie lake, so to speak. No question, they can grow them, but as long as they can live a little longer, just like the big deer that we're chasing these days, they can get some size on them, no doubt. Well, Steve and I, we really don't have a menu to follow today. We have done PowerPoints and really roll through a specific technique, and it seems like it's kind of been boring to people before. So what we'd like to do, if anybody has a question about new technology like the Garmin, I know everybody's heard about the Garmin and where it's headed and what we've seen. We'll be glad to give you our first-hand experiences, what we've seen. We've only used it about 6 months, or anything else. Anybody got a question they want to fire at me right away? Get started. Anything? Come on, Drew. I know you know something, big guy.
What is your favorite crappie bait?
My favorite crappie bait? That's going to be quite a long answer. I can't put my finger on one thing. It depends on the situation, really. There's two things that will always be in our boat, and I mentioned it last night, and I'll mention it today, and I'll mention it every time you talk to me. That's a set of rods that are rigged with one jig on light line, and they'll be light rods, the BGJPs. I'll have a set of those, a set meaning 6 or 8, whatever's legal to fish in a tournament typically we'll have with us. And then there'll be a set of poles, and it's typically the Captain Coleman rod that's made for trolling and pushing those minnow rigs that you're seeing on the end cap right here. There will be both those sets in our boat, without question. It don't matter where we go or what time of year it is. And those will be the 2 priority sets of rigs that we'll use in any tournament almost, just about exclusively. I mean, I just reckon, I mean, it's just, you gotta have kind of thing, really. You need a set with lighter line, and you need one, we prefer one bait. I know people add sinkers to the one bait and all kinds of combinations, but actually it's much easier to handle with just one bait on one line. We will definitely tip a jig if we're legal to tip it with a live minnow, or a wax worm is another favorite of ours during the spawn. We'll definitely tip it with some sort of live scent if it's legal. If it's not legal, there's all sorts of things like the crappie nibbles. There's slab bites that's out right now by the crappie. Check out some of the artificials back there. I'm telling you, it's some very nice stuff out, and that very well work. If I got a jig pole in my hand, that's one thing, but if I'm trying to push it with a pole set, I'll typically always have some sort of scent on it. I can do a little more damage with one without, if I got it in my hand, but if it's sitting there motionless, I want some scent on it. And that's just us. But some people push them without anything. If you're going fast, that's another program. Typically, we're going really slow, taking our time. So.
And you always fight a rig?
Well, no, not always. No, we're just as good with one pole. Matter of fact, it's a whole lot nicer to fish with one rod. But competing, it's very hard to compete with one rod when somebody's got 6 and being that much more efficient, 6 times more efficient, or 8. Depends on the area that they're covering, how much ground they're trying to cover, and the situation. So I go right back to that. But those 2 things, we'll never go without those. But there's also periods where we'll flip a slip cork with a live minnow on it. That's just a favorite sometimes. We'll use a split shot and a single hook sometimes without the float, tight lining it. When crappie get finicky and won't bite, you just have to figure out how to get a bite sometimes, and that's been a success story for us, and we've come up on top sometimes by doing just that and being patient. I guess patience is probably one of the best things you can have. If you know you're in some fish and they're real hard to catch, be patient with them, So anyway, hope that helped you out. Any other lakes or questions we can fire? Yeah, yes sir. Bay Springs, man, that's a pretty place full of wood, right? I have fished it full of. We've in there when we have fished in the past, it's pretty deep. Those trees are on down there pretty deep. And the most important thing in that heavy structure is to keep your boat stationary. Fish, you got to get right on top of them fish and drop her straight down there without that boat. A hard wind day is going to be a bad day for you, dealing with it over there. But we'll typically drop a 16th ounce jig straight down in there, or a minnow rig, maybe a 3/8 minnow rig, or even a quarter right down in there. Those 2 things would be our pick right away. We're bad to minnow rig when we're fishing deep water. I have to say that. Yep. 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 Yeah. Yeah. You're very when you have fish that are aggressive down there, I'm sure that that's no problem to catch them, and you can feel so much more with a heavy weight. But I'm telling you, I can't ever tell you when I've been down there when they've been very aggressive.
We use 160 total
Yeah,
or 1/100.
sure. Yeah.
Just dead catfish,
Yeah.
just dead sticky.
Yep.
I just wondered if y'all got a
Yeah, you have to find a happy medium. You know, if you got all the time in the world to do that, you get more bites the lighter you can go. I'm just going to tell you. But fishing a tournament, man, you got to be in the right spot to drop it on down to that light of a waist. Because, you know, you're 16, 18 foot, even 20 plus out there. And do you have the Garmin yet? The live scope yet? Well, yeah, everybody says that, but they'll have them. I'm telling you, you'll find a good buddy.
I'm hoping they figure that all out.
You'll probably find a good buddy maybe that has one. You know, I'm speaking of the Garmin. I don't know if many of you heard about it or not, but it's basically the latest fish finding technology that's hit the market. And every time I turn around, somebody wants to know something about it. So I know y'all are probably exactly in line with those people. So the Garmin, when you go down to Bay Springs with that thing, you're going to be able to see your 1/64th or 1/100th ounce jig going down on them, and you're going to be able to see every fish in that tree. And you can just pick out which one you want to catch and get it right over him and drop it right on his nose, and that's what's going to happen. So I know I'm talking about something we've never seen before, but it's reality now. Trust me. And so we've only had about 6 months experience with that thing, and we're competing with some people maybe that's had it for a couple of years now. So we're getting better every time we get to go to the lake. And it won't happen the first day you go, but you'll realize that, man, I can see something I've never seen before when you do go with somebody or either you get one. Yep.
I don't see tournaments.
Sometimes I wish we didn't either. Yep. Well, it's about that way. You're right. You know, so the new stuff is we're running like a 12-inch screen, and I think they actually make a 16-inch now that'll be a lot better for it. We may move that way when we win another tournament or two. But you know, the bigger the screen, the better you can see, and so it really helps us out to have a big screen. But that 12 inches is doing us pretty good right now, and the transducer is separate from the unit. So we're running like a 1222 combined with a live scope transducer. It's been a winner for us so far. I'm amazed at what we've learned just having it, much less catching which fish we're going to catch and when we're going to get a bite. And it's pretty awesome anymore. Okay, any other?
Is that the Panoptix, or do you call it Panoptix?
It's Panoptix live scope transducer is what it is. And it's a pretty sizable unit that'll fit on either a stationary a pole that you can actually physically move. A lot of people are using aluminum poles. Some people are putting it on their trolling motor where it adjusts when you adjust the trolling motor. That's an option. And we've got ours independently mounted on a separate trolling motor shaft, which we run another foot pedal for. So it's like we got 2 foot pedals up there now, so it's a little more to do on the front. But when you can manually adjust this transducer to see what you want to see, it really does help, as opposed to running the 360 where it's constantly scanning. You have to wait for it to reload every time to see what's coming in front of you. You can put this scope right on the fish or either the piece of structure and look at him. You can actually see the fish's tail moving. I mean, we're learning that. I mentioned to you last night about the buffalo versus the crappie. A lot of like 3 or 4 pound buffalo look exactly like a crappie when you first see them with that scope. And the only difference in a white crappie and a buffalo is that the buffalo's tail will never stop moving. Even though he's sitting motionless right on the edge of a stump or something, that old tail, just like a goldfish in your aquarium, that tail never stops. But a crappie's tail will you'll never see it move unless he's swimming off on you. If he's traveling, you'll see it. But if he's sitting stationary, crappie's tail will not be moving. That's the only difference I could pick out. But right away I seen buffalo that looked like crappie and would get me excited, but after a few seconds you figure it out. So it's training your eyes to learn what you're seeing, but you know, we've been blind for a lot of years now, and now we're not. So if you get the chance to get in a boat with somebody with one of those, I guarantee you, you'll have a big time. Just looking.
It's like a camera then, you gotta be able to rotate it.
It's exactly what it about amounts to.
Like an OptiView.
Yep. But I hadn't used one of those, but yes. Actually, I think it's a little better than that because you got more distance. And it's updating in live time. I mean, it's an awesome deal. Shouldn't even mentioned it, right? No. Okay, so how many of you guys like to fish with more than one rod versus single pole? Do I have single polers in here only?
Single pole.
Single pole only?
Single pole.
Ever, never had more than one, right? One in each hand.
I only fished with a person that had the spider rig, and
Yeah.
I screw up too much.
That's right. I understand. That's no problem. I'm with you. I'm with you. So 2 single polers. Everybody else multi-pole, at least some, huh? Even the base springs guy. We'll usually push about 4 into those treetops down there. Yeah, keeps you busy sometimes. So, okay, I'm just interested. Everybody's multi-polar, but 2. What is the most popular rod that y'all are pushing up front? What is the most popular rod that you like to fish with? Multi-pole? No, I'm telling you, you out. You out. I just wonder what rod, just what rod? Power troller, okay. All right, good. Anybody fish BGJPs exclusively? Yeah. What's they gonna use? Telescope, okay, good. Anybody else got something different than those 3?
I have the Bass Pro
12 footers, okay. I'm just gonna tell you, from experience, and what, that PST is a great rod if you're having to deal with a little bit heavier, a whole lot heavier weight. I say that, you know, you got way more backbone. You got the advantage to lift the fish in much easier than you do with like a BGJP. A BGJP is supposed to be a jig pole. It's made to jig fish with. However, we love the sensitivity of that tip fishing with even a light minnow rig, like a 1/4 ounce minnow rig or a 3/8. If you start getting heavier than that, you'll get quite a bend on your pole out there. And the next step in line from that, it would be our troller, our CNC. It's Captain Coleman trolling pole. They don't have it here, but you can order it from BNM. It's actually made for like a 1/2 ounce minnow rig or larger minnow rig. It's somewhat stiffer. Got a few advantages with the pole seat, but it's made for minnow rigging. That's what it is. And so I want to tell you, with that PST, if you'll try to lighten up just a hair, I guarantee you'll get more bites with a lighter tip pole, especially down at Bay Springs. I promise you will. That PST is a little bit rigid for fishing real light. If you'll go with something a whole lot lighter, that when the fish touches your lure or minnow, whatever it be, when he touches it, if he don't feel resistance, he's much more likely to take it. And he'll usually sometimes touch it before he ever bites it. Many times we'll see some activity up there. It's either the minnow trying to get away from the fish, or he touched your minnow, one of the two. And when he touches it, if it's like a broom handle out there, he don't want nothing much to do with it, I can tell you. And the fact that when the system will flex, your pole, your line and even your hook, the fact that you have a lightweight system, complete system, will get you more bites. Just keep that in mind for Bay Springs. I guarantee you. Get you a BGJP and put it beside your PSTs and see what happens. I guarantee you'll see a difference, no doubt. So the telescopic, who had the telescopic? Yeah, what, they're Crappie Madness or something? Yeah. Sometime down the road, maybe you'll go with somebody different, do the same thing, and give something a little bit lighter, with a little bit lighter tip, a shot, and put it anywhere in your spread, and see what happens. See if they'll not pick it out. I talked to a gentleman right here that's got a B&M pole that was made near 30 years ago. B&M made poles way back then with wire guides, and really, that's old-fashioned kind of pole. But the tip was made out of a solid fiberglass piece of material. The rest of it was graphite. But the solid fiberglass tip was the lightest that they've ever made in a lengthy pole. The only thing in comparison with that would be the little jewel. Anybody seen the little jewel back here that's got for brim fishing? That's a solid fiberglass tip. Somewhat too light, unless you're going to be fishing like 1/100th or 64th, whatever. But that tip on this gentleman's pole right here, we have one of them too. I wished I had 8 of them. You better hang on to them. How much you take for them? He won't even sell them. Well, I'm telling you, the tip, being made from fiberglass and being much more light, you can put that one of those rods in a set of 6. Let it be one of the 6. And I promise you, at the end of the day, you'll recognize getting more bites on that one pole than any of the rest of the 5. Try it sometime if you don't believe me. So don't lose them. I'm telling you, the lighter you can go on the tip, the more bites you'll get. Now, the other side of that is landing the fish is quite a bit different. Lifting one in with a real light tip is a whole lot different than lifting them in with that PST you've got. The Pro Staff Troller, no problem. One with like a BGJP is a whole lot different. So you have to give and take kind of thing, but you know, I like to get as many bites as I can when I'm out there. So try that sometime, y'all guys that maybe don't fish with a very light tip. Try that, give it a shot.
And you're using 6-pound tests with those?
You know, when I'm minnow rigging, I want to go as light as I can, but I'll always use bigger line minnow rigging than I will with just a single jig. I was kind of speaking of minnow rigging, lighting your tip up. It's hard to lighten it up much more than a BGJP on a 16th ounce. That's kind of what we go with all the time. Minnow rigging, we love to use a BGJP as well because it's light tipped. And I'll use usually a 10-pound line on my rod with like a 3/8 or 1/4 ounce minnow rig. I'll use about a 10-pound. A 10-pound and even 12 sometimes is strong enough line that when you get hung up so bad you can't knock it loose with a sinker and you can't get it off of there, if you'll pull a 10-pound or 12, most often those hooks will bend out before they break. If you go anything lighter than that, like an 8 or 6, you're much more likely to break it. However, you'll cover more ground with an 8. If you're not in a lot of structure, 8's great. You're going to get more bites with 8. But again, you got to have to find that happy medium where you're not tying knots all day and you're not. One thing about it, if you tie knots, I've said it a million times, you're not fishing. So make sure your line is going to hold up enough where you're not tying knots all day, being broke off, without question. Any questions yet from anybody that I got in here at all? Anything about anything? Look. So how many people dock shoot? Does anybody dock shoot much around here? Horseshoe Lake's a good spot, I heard. I have never been there, but anybody ever dock shoot at all? No? No docks. Y'all ought to try that. You can probably do it at Bay Springs in a few places. I don't know. You got a real clear lake like that, they'll find a place that's real dark to hide. I don't know how many docks.
I was just saying, that's where I don't go.
Yeah. You don't go.
I go to the sorry.
You spoiled, right? Yeah, going down here. Right. Well, if you ever find a lake, it's got a lot of docks on it, and black crappies in it. It's a whole lot of fun to try that. I won't go into it unless somebody wants to, but there's a rod just about for everything. There's a sharpshooter rod that's on sale today that they have. Bass Pro's got one of them, and that's the only one left. I picked it up a minute ago, but you can bend this little bad boy double and shoot a jig under a dock. We used to use solid fiberglass tips when we first started. They were ice rods, and you could bend them 360 and not break them, and tile and shoot under the dock with a lightweight jig. But this is the latest anyway. I just noticed they had one left. I couldn't find but one, so I thought I'd put it up here in front of everybody. But So we mentioned the Pro Staff trawler. That's the one you got. Take that tip out of there. Let's look at it. Yeah, just to give you an idea, that's that one on my that one you got your hand on is the PST, and that is the BGJP on that side. You wouldn't think really that there'd be that much difference, but it's light years in difference. I'm telling you, it's that crappie are that sensitive. I'm telling you out there. If you don't believe me, also try this. There is a number 214 EL extra light wire crappie hook. It's a bronze hook, and it's the same hook that's on our minnow rigs on this end cap. That hook is very important to us in the fact that it's a light wire. If you have an aquarium somewhere, you can take a minnow and hook that hook through his lip, drop him in your aquarium, and then hook another minnow with a 202, say, the next step up in gauge wire. Put him in the aquarium and watch the difference in the action. If you don't think it matters, that ought to tell you something. But that minnow is, if you're live bait rigging, that minnow is your best friend. He's the one that's getting you the bite. Because the more erratic and the more movement you can get, more vibrations that he can create, the more bites you're gonna get. So even just a light wire hook compared to a heavy wire hook makes a huge difference. Hope that helps some too down at Bay Springs. Yeah.
So what size hook do you use for crappie most?
That number 2 that's on that rig, again, is an Eagle Claw, and it's a 214 EL. That is our number 1 live bait hook for certain that we always use, always. However, the number 2 size, sometimes, in some instances, we'll go up to a number 1, just simply because of the size of the fish. And like Grenada, we'll move upwards in the size. But a smaller hook, we'll catch the biggest. We've caught plenty 3-pound crappie on that number 2 hook. I'm telling you. You will get in trouble using that light wire hook when you start going to like an ounce and a half, or even 2-ounce sinker, and trying to push fast with that light wire hook. You're going to lose some fish because he's going to bend you out, especially with a stiff tip rod. You're going to get bent out. That's when you're going to need to move to like a 202 or a heavier hook for sure. But if you're slow, ultralight fishing, going slow, pushing minnow rigs, that light wire hook will get you twice as many bites. I'm telling you. Just try it. If you don't believe me, try it with 1 rod versus the other in the set. So I've told you 2 tips. The tip of the pole and actually the size of the hook are so subtle, the most subtle things. But I'm telling you, they will get you more bites at the end of the day if you're going to minnow rig for sure. If you're going to be in heavy structure, that 14 is my favorite. If I'm going to go down to Grenada and try to cover some real estate out in the open area where there's a stump once in a while, that 16 is always our favorite. We'll run 16-foot BGJPs on like half, 3/4 ounce minnow rigs. That's our favorite. 14s are very, very, very effective for us because they are so much easier to handle. That 14-foot BGJP is at the top of our list 90% of the time. When we come to Grenada, we'll go 16s. But most all the time, as far as being able to handle it in heavy structure and land of fish and all of the above, I'm telling you, that 14-foot BGJP, hard to beat. Very hard to beat.
What about the line?
Excuse me?
The line.
The line, all right, we got a line question here. Let me tell you about what I know about line. I got a whole story. I could talk an hour about some line, but I won't. Maybe. No. Way back when, I remember some of the, you remember spider wire when it first come out way back when? We got us some of that, and we thought we was going to be something with a diameter of 2 pounds and strength of 20, and boy, was that a disappointment. You need to crappie fish with a monofilament line, for sure, a monofilament line. What we do especially, I've tried them all, but a monofilament line will stretch for you. Fluorocarbon line will not stretch for you. A braided line is not going to stretch any for you. That is not in your favor when you're crappie fishing. As I said before, your pole or your rod, your line, your hook, everything you've got needs to flex. That's what we stick to. I say that. I know people that's beat me in tournaments that fish fire line and stiff poles, and I wished I'd have been where they was at, using what I had. I'm just telling you what we use. But I'm telling you, a monofilament line that will stretch is something that will make up for mistakes when you set a hook. If you bounce a pole, that stretchy line will actually absorb some of that mistake. It's very hard for a fish to get rid of something that's constant when he's got constant pressure on him. When you make a mistake with a non-stretchable line, he's got the opportunity to get rid of that hook instantly, and he will. Slime line, and I don't even know that Bass Pro has it today, but slime line has made a custom line for us, and it's called Slime Line Super Stretch. You can actually take a 2-foot piece of it and see the stretch. Way back when, we looked for some of the cheapest monofilament that was on the line. Brand didn't matter as long as it had some flex. We used to buy, I think, 1,000,000 yards for $2 at Kmart when we were kids. You know, the spools that's the cheapest, it would stretch like a rubber band. I'm like, don't tell nobody. That's what we would buy then. But today, Slime Line makes our own line. And just this past year, we was able to get the first bit of it. But if you get a chance to get a roll, I think you'll like it. Just try it. You know, it's the most stretchable and abrasion-resistant line that you can get. Has also a happy medium with abrasion resistance versus stretchability. You have to find a happy medium, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure we have. We'll see. It's been doing us a good job for a couple years now. So that's my take on the line. I hope I got your question answered. Yeah, use mono though for sure. Okay, anything else, y'all? Yeah.
I got another question. How do you hook your minnows the most effectively?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. You know, when I was a kid, we used to run through the eyes. That was just the way my granddaddy taught us how to do it, you know, and I still know some people that do that. But really the most effective way to hook a minnow is right through the end of the lips and keep the minnow in line with your hook. Hook him from the bottom up to the top, and he'll be perfectly in line with your hook. Your hook will be upright, and he'll flow perfectly with the hook. He'll ride with the hook wherever you take him. He's going till you slow down and go real slow or even stop. Then he's going to do his own thing, you know, outside of ever how long the leader is on your minnow rig or whatever you got. He's going to do his thing. So hook him in the lips and as far out as possible. Believe it or not, those little lips, they're pretty tough right on the end. You get a hook right through the very end of it. You'll get more action than you will if you accidentally get too far back on that snout. If you get very far back, it gets tough. He'll definitely stay on there, maybe a little better, but you won't get near the action. So I'm talking about some tiny things, but I'm telling you, these tiny things have been winning us tournaments. And I'm just sharing stuff with you that has made a difference in us coming out on top. I mean, little bitty things make a whole big difference sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he says every time I get to go fishing, it's always windy. I can guarantee you, if we get ready to go fishing, it's gonna blow. All I gotta do is walk in the grocery store with a minnow bucket, and when I get my minnows to come out, I'm lucky not to get hit upside the head with the door, with the wind blowing it shut. That's just our luck too. So, in all this stuff I've been talking about tonight, whether you're jig poling with one pole or you're minnow rigging or whatever, boat control and managing that boat without question is at the top of the list for catching crappie. We'll almost always exclusively manage our boat. If we have to have any other assistance other than just a trolling motor with a set of chains, and I've talked about maybe last night and about every time I've been here, but we actually just, you could buy cheap chain from Lowe's Hardware, or you could buy a nice chain from Bass Pro that's coated with rubber. It won't rust. Some of the chains in the marine section, those 10-foot 6, they may be 6 foot, you may have to buy 2. We run 12 foot on each side, and I think, what is the size diameter of that chain?
They were 5/16.
Maybe a 5/16 chain. So on a 22-foot boat, we have a 12-footer on the rope cleat that basically adjusts off the rope cleat on the back left, and we have another section on the back right. I put 2 chains out. That makes me go straight. Most often, if you're in 10 or 12 foot of water, there's only part of that chain dragging the bottom. The rest of it is coming up to the boat. So if we're in 12 foot of water, I got 12-foot chain. Nearly half of the chain, or 3/4 of the chain, is out of the water. It's actually, but when we get in 18 or 20 foot of water, going across a flat or whatever, like Grenada maybe, we'll have a good wind. We'll always go downwind, and we'll adjust that boat to where the chains will just right at stop the boat. You just keep letting out line, whatever. Do the same for both sides, and you can let it out till you and hook and wrap them on your rope cleat till you find a happy medium with wind speed, and also the bottom substrate will be a factor. If you hit a sandy spot, you'll fly on across it pretty quick, but if it gets muddy, that old chain it'll be more friction, it'll grab the mud a lot better than it will sand. But you throw those out and kind of eyeball the bank. Before you ever put a rod out, eyeball that bank. When that old boat stops, barely stops. Maybe with a big gust, it might move a little. You about got it right. Yep. Oh no. Put your chains out first, and then get up there with that boat set motionless. Take your time, bait everything. You'll be dead downwind. Boy, I tell you, it's a whole lot warmer too on winter days when you're out there and that wind's coming at your back versus right in your face. But using those chains have been our mainstay for all these years. We started doing that when we was kids, and that's just what we've stuck with. I can't knock some of the other technology that's out there, like the power poles, and in shallow enough water, those things are great. People are very effective using those in place of the chain that we're using. It's a matter of personal preference. We've had some trouble with, we put poles on our boat at the onset when they first come out. I had them all hung up in the trees, and it was just in my way a lot of different times, and it added a lot of weight to my boat too. There's quite a few negatives. So I just really went right back to the chain, and I'm just telling you the truth about what we use. But I can manage that boat just about perfectly with a set of chains. And I don't care how shallow or how deep or how much structure. Once in a while, you'll have a little trouble with a knot where the knot meets the chain, getting on a stump and getting hung, and you'll have to go back there and pop it loose some sort of way. It would be a recommendation of mine, if you're going to do this with this chain, it could get very dangerous in the event that you get it hung up in a stump in some very windy conditions and water coming over your back, over the back of your boat. That's a problem. That could be a problem. I recommend that you get a rope size that is small enough for you to hit that motor and kick her in gear and break it if need be. If you're hung up in Whitecaps are coming at you and you're getting some wave action over the back of your boat, you need to be able to start that engine, go forward, and pop that rope, bang, or either pull it loose, one of the two, that quick. So don't go out and buy a giant rope that you're never going to break with your engine size. That's just my tip there. But you're doing stuff like that in bad windy days, go over here to Bass Pro Shop and buy you a wearable PFD. Put it on. I don't care if it's under your coat, whatever. Just wear it, and that way you never have to worry about the possibility. If it happens, you're going to float, right? Do that. Very good thing to do. Remember, you don't see us sometimes, most all the time. It's like we're not even wearing our PFD, but we actually got them under our whatever's on top. We're wearing them the whole time, and it saves the time of us putting them on, taking them off, putting them on, every time we get ready to move. So we just wear them continuously. So the inflatables are very hard to beat. Yeah, pick you a good one out that fits good and go for it. Hope I helped you out right there. So is that the first time you ever seen the chains used at Reelfoot? Maybe? Oh yeah. Yeah, hey, I bet you got some real quick, huh? Yeah. Well, those two 12-footers, the smaller ones, is good to have, and also we'll have a really big chain, a 20-footer, probably a 3/8 maybe, that we'll use. And I mentioned it last night. Even we call it the hurricane chain. When it's really, really blowing, you need a bigger chain. That we have it on a 25-foot piece of rope and a 3/8, buddy. It'll stop a ship almost. I think you put enough line out on it. But that friction that you create is really your friend, where you can inch along and going downwind, your boat's going to set much more stable than it would if you're trying to fight the waves going into the wind. So without a doubt, if you're just covering a random flat, no question, go downwind. If you're trying to cover a piece of structure that's really windy, sometimes we'll fight it just to stay right on it, and maybe even have the whole pole in our hand. So that's just, hope I helped out for sure out there. Any other questions, y'all? I know you gotta have some. Drew? Yeah.
You ever fish smallmouth in Little Rock?
Smallmouth in Little Rock. No, I have not, but I've heard of it. I have. Conway and we fished the Arkansas River there before. That is a really fertile. They got the fish. Man, Arkansas River, yeah. So that's really the only two places I can think of, really, that we tournament fished over there. But Conway was our favorite by far. It had some monster fish and so much structure in it that, man, they're safe. They're safe for a while in there.
Smallmouth's the opposite.
Oh, no structure.
Deep, no structure, clear water.
No, well, you talk about clear water. One of the clearest ones we've ever fished was like Cave Run Lake in Kentucky, up in eastern Kentucky. You pull off the ramp and you're looking 25 foot and you see a little coke cap or something. I'm like, well, we're in trouble. But yeah, we was able to catch fish in that water. Deep, but in structure, buried up. And, yep, so that's what I guess rings a bell when you mention clear water. Any other lakes that Yeah, I just, right away I'm looking at watercolor. How about that? I'll look at watercolor, water depth, and the layout of whether it's a reservoir or a natural lake is a biggie for me. I'm right away looking at the creeks that led into this area before the impoundment, whatever. So the impoundment thing, there's a bunch of things that I'd look at before I ever unloaded the boat, on a map probably. But, sometimes what you perceive to be is not the way they are actually when you unload the boat. But that is kind of a favorite thing for us to do, is go to a lake we've never been and try to catch a fish. But I would base that totally on everything that we've done for 33 years. And I would right away start relating to places I've been and situations where I had to deal with real clear water, real stained water or such. Water temperature is another factor, what time of year, and there's a lot of things that immediately start popping. And before you know it, we got a bite. So that's a long answer. That's not, but I could answer it really long. So you have a lake in mind? Nothing? Yeah. I did that on the Arkansas River. We actually done a video where we went down and I'd never been there before. And like, where are you gonna go? What you gonna do? And right away, we caught fish pretty quick down there. And have you fished the Arkansas River quite a bit? Or you familiar? So is there a place called Piney Creek, Piney area? Maybe not. I remember a Piney. It was. It's been a while since I've been there. I remember all those interstates running across one big creek. What is that one down near the dam? What is that? Caught some really nice fish right there around the interstate bridges. There's a lot of pine trees on the banks. Anyway, it was very fertile, and in that lake, we noticed right away with our technology, as soon as we unloaded the boat, any kind of structure on those hard sand flats, it was more sandy. Any structure had crappie nests on them. You could actually see the nest. Pretty common to see a piece of structure like somebody had maybe dropped out a cedar tree, and with side imaging, we were running Helix 12 Hummingbirds off the back then. You would just be scanning across the flat, see the structure, and then make a look back, get close to it, and you could see the nest usually on the down current side of the structure every time. But it wouldn't be like bluegill nests. A bluegill have a lot of nests in one area. A crappie won't have that many typically. It'll be a few, only a few nests. So I remember that when I was down there, I said, man, we're gonna have some fun here. And yeah, the little males were all over those nests. We had a big time catching fish. But we actually were there just a little after the spawn. So we missed the prime catching, I think, while we were there. Any other questions? Yeah, go for it. Or jig hook. Yeah, jig hook, right? Jig. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you my favorite, and I've used those, and I guess out of experience, I don't have so much confidence in them. But they will carry, if you're gonna tip a jig, they'll carry a minnow a lot better than a round bend. But our favorite is a number one for a jig hook, a number one Yamagatsu round bend, number one size. And it should be equal to that hook that's on the shelf right there by your hand. It's a number 2 Eagle Claw on those minnow rigs. It'll be the same size. Number 1 Yamaha is the same as number 2 Eagle. It is the sharpest hook. It's very sharp with a very small barb, which works in 2 different ways for you. Having a tiny barb, there's much less friction going through a crappie's lip if you hit him in the hard part with that barb. On the other hand, if you're tipping it with a minnow, it's a nightmare sometimes to keep a really live minnow on there because he gets off because of the barb size. But that is our favorite. I've used some of those sickles, and I've had quite a few fish on, and that I'm talking about hooked, and it pop out at me, come flying out at me, and it has made me, I was like, I don't know so much about this. So that in itself changed my mind a few times that I didn't need it to be changed. And so I got back with the old round bend, and that's what we use. Number 1 Yamagatsu. We have them made. Bobby Garland, I'm pretty sure, has some that's real preparable back there on the shelf. And I mentioned it again last night. If you're gonna go fishing, don't go short on a hook, right? Maybe something else. Don't buy a ham sandwich. Just get a pack of Little Debbie or something. I don't know, but don't go short on equipment, especially quality. And the sharpest hook you can get is gonna pay dividends, without a doubt, at the end of the day. Especially if you don't have that pole in your hand. If you get a thump out there and it's actually in a holder, You need the system to give. You need the hook to absolutely penetrate him instantly without you even having to do it. And when you do it, he's had it, you know, and keep tension on the fish. Don't ever let him have slack. That flexible system will always do that for you. You can really make a mistake, like I said, and still keep him hooked. But in the event you do let him have slack, you know what happens most times. He gets away. But hopefully, that's my opinion now. It might not be, I guarantee you, somebody else will tell you something different. But I run a 6 pound commonly with a 1/16. If I'm in heavy structure and I move up to an 8, I'll use an 8 pound. And I kind of want to stay with 6, but when you get down into Mississippi fish, sometimes you'll mess around and break off a fish real quick down here in heavy structure with 6. Need to move her on up to 8. 8's the top. I very seldom ever. I won't. I just won't. But a 6 pound is our favorite. Yep. If it'll stretch, it'll do you a better job than an 8 actually. 8 non-stretch versus 6 stretch. 6 stretch. Yes, sir. Promise.
What about line color?
Line color. He asked about line color. You know, a lot of people have personal preference about a line that they can see much easier versus one that's clear. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. I can't see either, and Steve, we're both bad shape on vision, but I'm telling you, we still prefer a camo type line, either clear or a green tint is our favorite. If you have a problem seeing that line out there 16 or 14 feet, then I recommend a high vis line. But other than that, it's kind of a confidence thing for us. We've used those. I've used them in comparison with basically camo line, clear or either green tint, and I did not get the bites that I wanted to get on that high vis when I compared it. When I set a set of poles and I had some clear versus high vis, and you know what? Stuff like that sticks with me bad. You ever did that, Drew? Yep. So here we are fishing either green tint or clear, and that really the green tint is my favorite. Most time we got an algae growth in the waters that we're fishing. It's kind of green tint anyway. I like that in conjunction with that bronze hook versus a gold hook. I know there'll be people that'll say, I want a gold hook versus a bronze hook, but I'm the other way around. I'm kind of going camo. I want to go camo with my hook, my line, and I put that minnow on there like he's the only thing there versus all the bells and whistles, if you will, like colored beads, spinners, all kinds of other stuff. I'm kind of the other end of the spectrum. I'm going camo versus most of the time for a live minnow rig. I know that goes right against our jig fishing deal. We'll usually use a colored head with some brightness to it. So pick your own medicine, I guess, but that's just our what we do. Thank y'all for coming.
Are the drops the same on your new rig
They'll be different.
as the main rig?
They'll be different. They'll definitely be different. Some of these rigs that are tied right here, if you hadn't ever measured them out, looked at them, you might want to get you a pack on your favorite size and have a look at it. Those are pretty well tied to spec. As you go up in sinker size, the lengths of the droppers are going to get longer, and also the body of the rig will be longer. On a heavier, like if you go to the 1 ounce, it's going to be longer than the ½ ounce. Much longer, and it's basically because you're going to be fishing deeper water with a heavier weight. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It goes up. Yes, sir. Yep. Believe it or not, those heavy rigs are tied with 15. The other ones are tied with 8.
When you're talking about the color of the line, it doesn't matter if you use, I don't do it, but
Yep.
if you use high vis, it's clear.
In that regard, probably not, but it bothers me. How about that? That's all. That's it. That's my. If you don't have to use it, don't. I'm going, and you know what? I guarantee you there'll be somebody else get up here and say, man, yeah, I get way more bites with high vis. It seems like it attracts them. I guarantee you there's somebody that'll say that. That's not me. I'm just telling you my answer. I'm telling you how we catch them. But you can very well see it better, and lots of times watching your line catches you more fish if you can see it good. So there is a plus to that, especially if you're going to long line out the back of the boat where you can see each line. That high vis is very, very helpful. I'll go that. When you're moving that fast, I don't do much long line trolling, but I would say, without a doubt, it could be a very helpful thing in that situation. So, yes, sir. Goldfish, I sure have. You know, this time of the year, when the water temperature is cold, I hadn't mentioned it, but a rosy red will get you more bites. At Reelfoot, I know for a fact they'll pick them out right now. I don't know that it's the action or the color or both, but a rosy red, as long as the water's cold at Reelfoot, they'll definitely get you more bites than a shiner. That's just from experience too. I have also seen rosy reds do very well in June in a clear lake before. They've done very well. If you got the option to buy them at the bait store, you ought to try them, without a doubt. Definitely goldfish. Some of the biggest stringers that we ever caught on Kentucky Lake was caught with goldfish back in the day. Usually this time of year you can buy the little feeder goldfish, and I guess the worst part about a goldfish is he's way more active than a shiner is, and he's bad to twist up your line, do odd things when you're not moving very fast. So the system flows a whole lot different with goldfish than it does with a shiner. But yes, sir, they have been very effective for us, no doubt. We usually get those at Peregrine with Arkansas a lot of times. Excuse me? Petco, yeah, hey, Rob the, okay, fish tank's out, I got you. All right, any other questions, y'all? We got some new company here. You crappie fish much, girl? All right, where at? Kentucky Lake. Which end? Oh, no. You gotta stay away from Paris, that's my part. No, well, good. So you've been fishing a while? Kentucky Lake? So, what kind of boat you got? What kind of boat do you have? A kayak? Oh my, I can't go with you in that. I'm never gonna be able to go with you then. Well, I got a friend that does a lot of that. Yeah, it's hard to keep a kayak still, boy, in that wind, I guarantee you. Yeah, most of my little buddy's using like 10-foot BGJPs. That's what he's doing, and he got him like 4 rod holders on there. And oh me, be careful, girl, with all the boat traffic. I say that definitely. Yeah. Well, I won't be able to go with you. All right. Any other questions, y'all? We're just rambling, I know, and really just talking crappie. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, good question, and that'll be a different answer on a different day according to the wind and stuff. But I'd say it's about 6 to 8 inches, you know, and that answer is going to be different according to how you got your rod holders mounted. Our rod holders, when you sit in your seat and you put your elbow on your knee, and drop your hand should be on the center of your holder. That's about our height there, and everybody's different a little bit, but I've seen pole holders mounted up way too high. In that regard, I can't give you an answer. So if you're mounted up similar to what I'm talking about, having when you're sitting down and your knee and basically your elbow hits the rod holder just perfect, that is our favorite, where we get it best, but about 6 to 8 inches off that water. And you know, you for sure want to keep it out of the water if you got whitecaps hitting you and not have to deal with that. But make sure they're all the same. Exactly. I'm talking down to half micro. I want them all perfect. I'm a bad stickler to have them perfect all the way across. That way when you scan them, I mean, it's a lot easier when they're all the same. And we have independent rod holders where we adjust each one independently, and having an independent holder will keep you from disturbing the other 6 or 8, whatever you've got out. And in effect, at the end of the day, I believe catch you more fish having them on independent holders versus a T-bar, that kind of thing. That's my take on that. But so anyway, that helped you out, hopefully. Yeah, I've seen people jack them up and all kinds of things, but honestly, they need to be pointed down at an angle. And when you set that hook, you got plenty of room to go back with him and keep the line tight and land the fish and hold 9 yards. Yeah. It's when they're jacked up in the air like this, setting the hook is ridiculous. I don't know why people do some of that, but I've seen them pretty wild sights. Never know. Whatever works, I guess. Hope I helped you out there. Any other questions, y'all?
Hey, Ron,
Yeah, ma'am.
you know the milestone that matters more about the bait profile than the bait color?
One more time. Live scope bait profile versus.
First, the color matters more. I mean, I said the profile matters more now than the color. I know what you use a lot.
You already telling off on yourself, man.
You don't vary the baits very often.
You know, I got mine working, and I've kind of hung on to what I see there. Have you done the color deal with it? I don't know about that. What do you know about that? I'm gonna let you teach this section.
They're saying the color don't matter as much anymore, about the profile of the bait.
Well,
I don't know.
that's really the profile is that's what we're paying attention to. I mean, you know, Steve was telling me about a big catfish he seen a few days ago, and I'm everybody knows what a catfish. If you don't, go out here to the pond and take a look. But one of the things that fooled us both, and I mentioned it also last night, was a striped bass, solo stripe, out and open, and we like to never caught him. I'm like, it's a crappie. He looked just like a crappie. You know, the body form is really similar to a crappie, and he's out in open water, suspended, and we spent 5 minutes to catch a stripe. And like, by himself, he must be ready to croak, but it was forever before we made him bite. But it was a white bass. And very rare to see him by themselves. Not so rare, but pretty rare to be sitting out there and not bite. But we've also dealt with crappie that looked exactly like that, and it took us 5 minutes to catch them too. So without a doubt, the profile of the fish, you're looking at an old red carp, German or carp, common carp. He's always nose feeding. You can see his nose in the mud, bubbles coming up. You see the bubbles on the screen just coming out of the ground. And the old carp, head straight down and tail straight up. Never stop. You can go right over top and he don't care. He's not going anywhere. He just keeps feeding. He just keeps on feeding. But being able to recognize the species of fish once you get this thing is the key to using it and making it work for you. No question. And different angles are very confusing sometimes what you're even looking at. Fish swimming away from you, it's very different than one stationary side, sided out. And so you will get used to that definitely. Maybe you can teach me a little next time we go. Yeah. All right. Any other questions about anything? Live scope, whatever. We'll tell you what we know. That it? No others? Come on, somebody's got to have a question. Yeah, there we go.
All right, so
That's it.
I'm from Michigan. I haven't lived down here that long.
Michigan. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of fishing.
Yep.
What's the big crappie difference?
What's the big crappie?
What would you consider an average or large crappie?
A large crappie in Tennessee is anything that make 2 pound range is definitely a large crappie. Depending on the lake, that answer is going to change. But at our home lake at Reelfoot, a 13-inch crappie up to 14, very, very nice crappie in our lake. Down here, not so big in Mississippi. They catch fish and commonly over 2 pounds at Grenada and Sardis and some of these lakes in Archibald. The growth rate's much faster. They just grow bigger fish. They have the nutrients in the lakes to do that. Some lakes, growth rate's a lot slower, like Kentucky Lake. And a 2 pound crappie in Kentucky Lake is very rare. I'll say that. Now, in the past, we've caught plenty of fish that weigh 2 pounds. But so that answer will change as fish cycle too. But yeah, you get you a 2-pounder, you got a trophy in my book. And if you got a 3-pounder someday, you got a mega trophy. There's no doubt. So what lake in Michigan did you like to fish? Yeah. Cadillac, yeah. So are you familiar with Houghton Lake in Michigan? Houghton? Or is it Houghton? Houghton Lake? I'm sorry. You can tell I'm from the South, right? Houghton Lake. Me and Steve have fished a tournament at Houghton Lake before. Yep. So it was pretty tough on us. It was a huge lake. Like, we got out of the sight of dry land for the first time, I think, in our life. Yeah, it was like being on the ocean. It was big. Yeah, so we caught some blacks alongside a vegetation line. Yep. And that's not way up on my list of favorite ones to go to. Maybe when it's froze over, I'll go get in a tent and try it. I don't know. It was in June when we were there, and it was still pretty cold. Yeah, it was like stepping back in time. Yeah, we're supposed to be home down south catching big ones. Well, good. Glad you made it. So Michigan's probably the furthest. You're here now, right? You live here?
Yeah.
So you got to make a trip to Sardis, Grenada, and do that in the spring. Yeah. Wade fishing about April the 15th. Don't not do that. Oh yeah. Yeah, you in there? That's right. It is. They're spoiled in Mississippi as far as size compared to the rest of the country, no doubt. Yeah. Well, good. Glad you come out. Anybody else got any questions, y'all? Anything? I don't know. It's about to wind up, isn't it? Yep. Number 214 EL. Yep, it's a 214 EL. You get a pack of those minnow rigs off of that end cap and look at that hook real close. It's a very, very nice piece of equipment. As small as it is, it's probably the most efficient piece of equipment that's made out of a piece of steel that big anyway. It's very effective with those line sizes for straightening the hook out and also giving you maximum action out of your minnow. I think you'll probably use it and like it. Should. Down at Bay Springs, you're gonna be able to pull that thing loose out of those treetops versus break it. Unless you're getting a ball of line. Well, it's got plenty in it. Yeah, that's right. As much structure as you got, I guarantee there's probably some monsters in there too. Yeah. We fish a lot in Pickwick, right out in Yellow Creek there. There's a lot of good fishing right in there. But you have to try that. Bay Springs not on fire. Yeah, there's all kinds of stake beds galore right there around Goat Island, that area. No doubt. Okay, y'all. Got some new people. Any questions I can answer before we wind it up at all? What time is it?
Oh, let me say something.
What time is it? Okay, I'm going to let Steve have it for a second.
It's about that time. You know, Ronnie, he's pretty good explaining about all this, but I'm going to tell you something. This adventure started when we was about 4 years old. So that means we have, 90 years experience in this? And he fails to tell you that we've crawled around every lake bottom as commercial divers. We've been commercial fishermen. We've done a lot of things we shouldn't have done. But I tell you what, starting at age 4, I can remember catching that 2.5 pound crappie. And from that day, he and I tied up. I don't know what age was that we hooked up. It wasn't far after that. I guess as soon as he got out of diapers. But we've been all over this world, and we fished many tournaments from the north to the south. But we was the type of people, when we go to that lake, we watch all these old fishermen we fish, and we've got to fish against them. We go home and think about all this, and we always were competitive, trying to figure out the next day, the next step, how to get ahead, you know. And this went on for years. We started fishing tournaments, and we got our butts kicked, but we couldn't stand it. So we tried to figure out what was going on, how we could make ourselves better. And it didn't take long. Man, I can remember going, what was it? Columbus, Mississippi, where it was. And that's the first time that somebody actually looked at us and said, hey, will y'all fish for me? Being a pole company. And when we got our first sponsor, that was it. I mean, hey, somebody done looked at us, let's go, boys. So ever since then, we ain't put the brakes on. And we haven't got any plans to stop them yet. But that double hook B&M rig, that rig right there, I keep a lot of records. Keep up with all the tournaments, and I sat down the other night. This year, we have 82 first place wins in tournaments. 82. Over 300 tournaments fished, and over $1 million won. And that right there has been in our boat since day one. And it's sitting right there with the end cap. So, you know, being a pole company, you know, they paid attention to us. And you look at all the sponsors on this shirt. And if you're going fishing, these people, they cater to you. They build these products because people like Ronnie and I, the first being in pro staff. And since then, we have a complete pro staff now that is in every Cabela's Bass Pro Shop stores this weekend. So, when you go out and buy these products, look at these sponsors. They're on these shelves, Cabela's, you know, Bass Pro Shops. So, you got anything else?
You know, he's exactly right. You know, for sure, if you're gonna buy poles, I mean, we definitely don't say anything bad about any other rod on the market. We just tell you what we know about the ones that support us, and hope that you'll at least give them a fair shake and buy a product from them. But they're all very good. Some of the best equipment in the country this far along the way in the crappie world is on the shelf, without a doubt. We'd give anything to have the worst pole back there when we were getting started. I mean, cane poles was where we started. So stuff that's on the shelf right now it's amazing. There's no question. And it's really just been because of what we've told these manufacturers that we needed to catch them fish, and they've listened to us down the road. B&M makes a pole for every situation. I mentioned dock shooting, trolling, jig poling. There's side pulling techniques. There's all kinds of ways to catch crappie. The latest being the Garmin and live scoping and fishing with one rod, catching fish you're looking at. I'm holding the brush cutter rod that's basically the most popular at the moment. They've actually got another one out that's not in stock at the moment, just come out. It's called the Stick that B&M's making. It's a little bit stiffer than this brush cutter. But to be able to pitch to an individual fish that you're sitting there looking at on your screen before he spooks at the 25-foot mark, kind of what we indicated earlier on some spooky fish, you need something that you can pitch with. And it needs to be pretty lengthy, but it also needs to have some backbone to it so you'll be accurate with it. Most people are running, are you pitching the brush cutter now? Yep. This happens to be the newest, basically, rod of choice for fishing with the live scoping technique. And we tried to do it with a BGJP, no. That wouldn't work right away. It was way too light to be able to pitch accurate. You got to be able to pitch accurate. You need some length to get some distance too. So anyway, the brush cutter is kind of one of the recommendations for that particular technique. But any questions about B&M poles before we get out of here, or any of the product that they, the minnow rigs? I'll be glad to answer anything at all regarding any product whatsoever. Bass Pro is carrying some of the best product. I can tell you that whatever's in this store is usually exactly what we got in our boat, and we got some of all of it, believe it or not. That's why we got to have a big old boat these days. But I'll be glad to answer any question at all. Even after this is over, we'll be around for an hour or so, and we'll be back again at 2. So if you didn't get it this time, maybe hang around till 2, and we'll talk about something different. So have some different questions if you come. How about that? I appreciate each and every one of y'all coming. For sure, we both do. Thank you.
All right.
Yep. 20% off being in